what it is, what's happening. So I wanted to get a little something out there for you guys. So, update on the tow truck build. Coming along really well. Motors all back together, getting ready to close it up here soon. Set the intake on, valve covers on. It's all back together. Cam, lifters, chain. I got the front of the motor together. Got to clean the oil pan up, and then I can throw it on, throw the oil pump on. Oil pan's still sitting on the bench. Clean the intake up. I'm not going to use the Mickey Thompson valve covers. I bought a set of chrome valve covers. I wanted it to kind of pop under the hood of that old wrecker. I like the Mickey Thompsons. I think they're cool. But I don't think I'll get them clean enough to where it'll really pop. So I just bought a set of cheap chrome ones. Nothing crazy. Some $50 chrome valve covers. And what I thought I would do is I put all the... so this motor's a 71. So I bought the 1971 emission stickers. And stickers go in the air cleaner. So I figured I'd put them on the chrome valve covers and air cleaner. I think it'll look pretty good in the truck. The motor's going to get painted. Blue, obviously. Ford blue. So I think once it's all together, I think it'll pop and look pretty good. Should run really well. So that's all going pretty smooth. Let's take a walk outside and then I'll show you the tow truck. So last time I did a video, I talked about we got the front end all in and how we're ready to start welding this up. So before we rolled it out of here and get it over into the garage, over the weekend we took the time to sand and clean underneath of the truck and prime the whole entire frame. So we primed the frame. We got the rear section to do, but we primed the frame. We primed up underneath of the bed. All on the back side of here is all cleaned up and got it all primed up. Went around, we seam sealed everything. We seam sealed where we put our floors in. So we got all them tightened up. We got all the frame primed all the way down the inside. Got it all nice and clean. Now I'm really only worried about from the rear leaf springs forward, getting it cleaned, primed. That way, when I roll it into the shop, we can weld the front clip up, unbolt the suspension, and we're going to paint the frame to about midway back. I've decided I'm going to paint from this part of the firewall down, including the frame rails, just a flat black, like a satin. I'm going to do the firewall in a gloss, because the truck actually is black and white. And I've talked before how we're just going to leave the outside of the truck the way it is with a satin clear or a clear. Don't know yet. So we got all that done this weekend. So now the frame rail is nice and cleaned up. And I wanted this front half done so that way I could paint this front half so that we can put the motor and trans in the truck and start wrapping it up. Or at least getting it to where we can fire it up. So that's pretty much all I got really done on this project over the weekend. There's a lot more I want to do. We just kind of ran out of time. But we made some serious headway with getting everything cleaned up, primed. That's a major job. I mean, we spent 3/4 of the day out here under the truck with a wire wheel, sandpaper, and scrapers, and it was messy. Me and the girlfriend did it. It was just a total mess, but we got it done. When we get it in the shop and get on the lift, we'll do the rear section of the frame, and we'll clean the rear axle and all up. We're not looking for spit shine clean. We just want to get it clean enough, knock all the loose stuff off. And actually this red primer that's on here is nothing more than red oxide primer from Rust-Oleum. I Rust-Oleum the front of this truck a year and a half ago, and it's been sitting outside and it still looks good. So I did not use my expensive silver paint that I talk about all the time. I am, however, going to be using the silver paint on the inside of the floors, and I'm going to be drilling some holes in the front of these door jamb boxes, and then eventually, after I drill the hole, I'll put a rubber plug in it. When I drill those holes, I'm going to make them big enough to get a small brush in there that I can glob the silver paint as much as I can inside the box. Because after all, rusty body panels start from the inside out. When I go to fix these doors, I will be using the silver paint on the insides of the doors when I get the door bottoms cut out and the outer lower skin cut off. They will all get silver paint on the inside. Why didn't I use the silver paint on this stuff? Because it's really not really, it's never usually a rusty problem to begin with. This all just had like a surface rust on it because it never had any real paint on it from the factory when it was built. A lot of times when they build these trucks, they build them, they sprayed some paint on the outside and shipped them out the door. These things really didn't have a lot of paint on the insides of them to begin with. But this truck wasn't really rusty. It just had like surface rust. Like you could take your hand and run it across and it would come off on your hand. So we just hit it with a wire wheel, hit it with some 80 grit sandpaper, blew it off, wiped it down, and we globbed paint brushes. And that's all we did. I've talked 100 times before, we're not restoring this truck. We're making a hot rod, rat rod out of it. And realistically, once all the sheet metal's back on and everything's bolted together, you're not really going to be able to tell that we brushed all that on. And actually, areas where I lightly sanded it, it looks great. So it'll be fine. However, the firewall, we're going to do the firewall like you would normally prep something. We're going to, we got a little bit of sheet metal. Well, I already did the sheet metal work. I got a little bit of body work I'm going to do. A little bit of mud work over here on a section that I replaced. I actually replaced, and it might not show up in the video, but I actually replaced right across here. I made this whole piece. I even put the little lip on it like it originally had. This piece was actually rotted because this had rotted out and rotted that lip out. So I actually made that piece. So it's got a little, I've grinded my welds, but it's got a little bit of imperfection. I want it to look a little bit better. So I'll do a little bit of mud work right there on that weld, on that seam there. So that way, when I paint the firewalls shiny black, it'll look good. So that's where we're at with the wrecker project. Next will be, I don't know, this weekend it won't happen. I was hoping to get it in the shop, but I'm finishing up an S10 in there. I just got a Toyota motor dropped off, do a motor swap in Toyota for a guy. And Saturday, because some guys have been asking what's going on with the Jeep's still sitting there. Saturday, we're finally going after the parts truck that's got a really nice bed. It's a J20, it's 8 lug, where this is a J10, it's 6 lug. We're going to take the rears out of this other Jeep and the bed, and it's going to go on this Jeep. So when I'm done, this truck will be an 8 lug Jeep. I've got some old school aluminum slots that are 8 lug that I'm going to use on this truck. I've got fenders, because the fenders are bad, on our parts truck out back. I bought this cow hood that somebody made. It's actually metal. I'm going to cut this piece here out. I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to get a little metal grate and weld a little metal grate in there. And there's a couple little spots on here that I need to touch up and fix, because it looks like this was done a long time ago. So it's got a couple spots that are showing, and it's got something going on here. I don't know if you can see it. It's got some Bondo mud. I'll dig it out and see what it is, and we'll make that repair. And we're going to use this hood. I think it'll look pretty cool on the truck. So we're finally going after the bed for this turd Saturday. So I have another parts truck. Yay me. If there isn't already enough junk here. So hopefully we'll get that truck here, and we'll get it on the knife right away. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is, once I get it here and look it over and assess it, I think I'm going to take like a week off work and just bang on this truck for a whole week and just turn it into something. I'm going to try to run it through inspection the way it sits. It runs really good, but the brakes are questionable. I don't know if all the lights work, but if not, I'll make them work. I'm going to try to run it through inspection the way the truck sits and antique it. That way when I put it under the knife, I'm putting the parts truck out back's got lift springs in it, so we're going to lift this thing. I really don't know what size those springs are in the other truck. We'll see when we get it in there, but I'm going to lift it. The wheels and tires I have are 33, 12, 50, 16 5s, but they're on old school aluminum slots, which are going to look killer on this Jeep. This is going to be period correct. I think this thing's going to be badass. I think it's going to be cool. So I'll be doing some content on it for the guys that follow the channel and want to see what's going on with the Jeep. But I wanted to get a little something out there. I got the motor just about ready to go on this Ranger for a customer. I have not done anything with the mud truck other than get it running and moved it around. I know some guys want to see a little more on the truck. I'll get to it. I've just been busy inside trying to get some jobs done. Like I said, we spent Sunday or think it was Saturday we worked on this. Sunday we had some other stuff going on. But it's getting there. It's getting there. We're moving along. Like I've said before in other videos, I try to take a little bit of time each night and do something for the truck, even if it's just cleaning parts. Tonight, I cleaned some parts, but now I'm going to get over to this this S10 and try to get everything on the bottom of the S10 done so I can get it off the lift. It's been on there too long. I got to put some trans lines on, service the transmission, and that'll pretty much wrap up this S10 as far as what I need to do on the lift. Now you might see that the cab's sitting crooked. Well, I got to put transmission lines in this turd, and they have quick disconnect fittings. I couldn't get these big mitts in there. Everything's rusty. I loosened the cab up. As you can see, I've got the cab jacked up. I loosened it up because the quick disconnect fittings, even with my tool or even with a small pick, I couldn't get the little clip out because I had so much rust and trash in there. So what I did was I jacked the cab up so I could put my hand through here, and I was able to cut the lines and unscrew the fittings out of the trans, put them on the bench, clean them out with air and some brake clean, and then I was able to get the clip out. Kind of a pain, but you know, sometimes we got to do what we got to do on jobs. So I left the cab jacked up so that way when I put the new lines in, I don't have to fight it as bad. So that's why I want to kind of get this wrapped up tonight. Even if I can just get the trans lines done, that way I can put the wheels on it, I can always push it out. But I just want to be done with what I need to do underneath of it. I can actually bleed the brakes on the ground if I have to. I don't really want to, but I had to put an exhaust manifold on it. I had a bunch of other stuff to do to this truck, but just about done wrapping it up too. But it's just been a long-term project. But this one actually pays. This is a paying job, so I can't really complain too much. Just waiting on a couple small gaskets, and that way I can wrap up. There's an emission tube that goes right here. The new manifold didn't come with gaskets, so I had to order them. I should have them tomorrow. So, look, I'm going to get at it, try to get something crack-a-lacking around here, and finish something up. So, look, holla at your boy, keeps it reals.